Can record.
Up with the Facebook folks. Angela?
Yep.
Will
We'll
you
call
do
the
the roll,
roll.
please?
Yes. Mr. Allen,
Here.
Miss Baker?
Here.
Sorry. Mr. Butler,
Here.
Miss Eldridge,
Here.
Mr. McCoy, Ms. Queen, Mr. TD.
Here.
Thank you.
And thank you, Angela. I need a motion to approve the August 18th meeting minutes. Need a
So
motion?
moved. Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
You want to draw the staff prize you want in?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have a bookmark, I can just put your.
Okay, the president's report. I attended the virtual OLC trustee dinner along with several other trustees, and it was a very thought-provoking event. And I think we got more without dinner than we would if there was dinner. OLC discussed working with the Ohio legislators to improve and assist libraries in addressing social justice issues. And I do believe that they have various programs that the trustees or the library directors can take for additional information. They also addressed two House bills, House Bill 13, which is the broadband bill, and House Bill 606, which is the COVID-19. And George will be discussing this a little later in his director's report and how it affects Ohio libraries going forward. The other thing I want to talk about is our process for the new building. I know it's been rather tedious and it seems like it's gone on forever, but we're actually making progress, and hopefully we'll break ground in the next 30 to 45 days. And then we're off to the races. We've done all of the fundamental things that are necessary to make sure that this will be a successful process. And we'll talk a little bit more about the design structure, et cetera, during the Liberty Township Library building process. I have some good news. There's two young ladies that are celebrating their birthday today. Karen Cowan, our president of the Friends, and Julie Miller, the facilities directors. Now I asked both of them, and although they didn't tell me, I know that neither one of them are over the age of 21. So congratulations and happy birthday, ladies, and may you enjoy your special day. Fiscal officer's report.
Excuse me. You have my written report. There's some good news. I also got the PLF distribution for September. I got that yesterday, the one yesterday and one today, and that is also up. So I don't know what's going on with the PLF, but I'm encouraged. But I also got the statement from the Office of Management and Budget to not get too comfortable and thinking that it's going to be trending that way. So I am happy and positive, but I'm still projecting some caution. So it is 6% than more than we got in September of last year. So for the last 3 months, we've gotten more than we got in the years prior at this time. So that's good, I think. So
Angela, I have a question. So
yeah.
What is the prognosis for 2021? I've heard some things regarding POF that it's going to go down significantly, and I've heard some things say that it's going to stay the same. Can you give me a sense? Do you have any forecasts, or have you heard anything about what it's going to do in 2021?
I do not have that, but I can get that for you for the next meeting.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, so I will get 2021. It's just a guess because we don't
Right.
until the actually collect the money, but I will see what that looks like, what their, studies are showing.
Okay.
So there's that. Our supplemental appropriations are for donations. There's going to be, of course, more donations as the David Law Memorial funds keep continuing to come in. So there'll be additional supplemental appropriations for books donated funds. And also we received the Coronavirus Relief Fund money from the State Library in the amount of $100,000. And so that is in the special revenue fund. So you can see that on the month-to-date financial report. You can see where we got the grant of $100,000, and that's to use for coronavirus relief. And so we'll be spending that down, and that needs to be all spent by December 31st of this year. And I would not like to wait till the very last day to have that spent. So there's that. I'm thinking that's about all I have as far as key financial points. Sam and I are doing some continuing education over the next 2 days, of course, virtual. Our Government Finance Officers Association has their 2-day training tomorrow and Thursday. So that will be happening for us over the next 2 days. And I would be happy to answer any other questions that you might have, but I will follow up on the PLF for 2021 for you next month.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Angela? Hearing none, prior to making the motion to approve the financials, I would like Pam Taylor, who is an employee of the library, to tell us a little bit about David Law and what he's meant to the Delaware County District Library.
Well, thank you, Michael. Although I don't think I knew him quite as well as some of the CERC staff did, I got to know him working reference and talking to him. And David was a real Delaware person. He graduated from Buckeye Valley, or from Hayes. He lived in Delaware his entire life, I think, or most of it. And when he retired, all he wanted to do was read. And he started coming into the library weekly. He was a voracious reader of popular fiction and even classics. He made everyone laugh. Everyone loved him. He did not know a stranger. And then there were the snacks. He brought to the staff every week cookies, candy, Little Debbie's. They all had their favorites. He knew what to bring. I actually ran into him during the quarantine in the grocery store and told him that we would be the only place that lost weight during quarantine instead of gaining because of no access to his snacks. David, I mean, he really did touch so many people on a personal level in that library. And he wasn't just a borrower, he was also a lender. I remember one week he talked to me about a musician we were interested in. The next time he came in, he brought me a CD from his collection to listen to. We talked about Monty Python one day, and he brought me Baron Munchausen, which I never got a chance to return. And I was just mentioning to someone not long ago that people don't really seem to remember the library in their wills or in their requests as often as the local people used to do. And of all the people in the world, I wouldn't have wanted to be the one to break that. It's David. But I've been really impressed. I don't think he was just a friend to us at the library. The outpouring of donations and everything has been wonderful. He was a genuine patron in the real sense of being a patron of a place. He wasn't just a library user, as we like to call it sometimes now. He was a genuine patron. And I wish everyone could be here to tell you what a great guy he was. But anyway, thanks to David for having people remember us. And I'm hoping that the books I buy help people remember him. So okay. Thank you.
And thank you for remembering David. This is one of these feel-good stories. I think that it's very important for us as trustees that don't get into the library as often as the staff or people that are prolific readers. You know, I like this idea, and I saw all of these number of gifts and things like that, and so I said I knew this gentleman had to be special to the library, and so I'm so appreciative of your remarks, and thank you very much, Pam. Thank you. Now, I need a motion to approve the August financials.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Then I need a motion to approve the supplemental appropriations for August book donations and funds.
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And now we need a motion to approve with gratitude the donations for the following individuals. Was primarily all for David Law. So I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now I need a motion to accept the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission. And this is a roll call vote for the necessary tax levies and certifying them for the county auditor.
Michael, before we take the vote, can I ask Angela to just say a few words about what this is? Because we have two trustees who are here who have never been part of this part of
Do
the
we need to
process.
approve and second it first?
Oh, that's true. Yeah, sorry.
I approve or so move.
Second.
Thank you.
Discussion?
This is a formality to the county auditor. We went on the ballot, we passed a levy. This is every year we have to pass this motion to say, yes, we still want you to collect this money on our behalf. And it is 1 mil, and this is what it's going to generate. And so we have to do this every year. And I take this motion in a similar form to them by October 1st every year. So this is just authorizing them to continue to collect the money on our behalf.
I have a question, Angela, and I'm sure you know I've discussed this before, but the amount they're under local government, who came up with that number? Because you just said a little while ago we didn't know what that number was going to be.
The local government number, that's what they're projecting for.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what they've decided. I mean, I don't
They're
know
the
where
County
they got.
Budget Commission.
Yeah. So the 2,184,948, that's what they're estimating, probably based on information from the Ohio Department of Taxation.
What was it last year?
I don't have last year's first schedule. I only have an amended number. It's 2,275,526. It's on.
So it's in the ballpark, slightly less perhaps.
It's slightly less. Yes, it is slightly less.
Okay.
The number on this PLF sheet that I include with your board packet, this is the most updated number that I've gotten from the county auditor as of this month. So, well, that's my target. So, but yes, they've estimated it as less.
Okay.
I will find out for sure, and I will give you a firm number, which is subject to change next month.
Right. It's a moving target. I know.
Actually, I've got last year's in front of me here. Last year, they estimated the local government funded $2,522,088.
If since revised that.
Yeah. But that was at the same time last year as this year. That's what they were projecting.
Yeah.
So then is that saying last year dropped 400K by when reality hit?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Or
Yes, it is.
300K? So do you think we have that risk this year? That it won't be 2.1, it'll be 1.8, say?
I'm not going to say it can't get worse.
It is what it is, I guess, so.
um, as I've said before, the good thing is that we have the, as long as you approve this motion to allow the county to collect the tax revenue, we are not just solely dependent on the PLF. We are very dependent on the real estate tax collection.
Yeah.
Very.
So at this point in time, it's really about permitting them to do it, not necessarily agreeing with a number.
It's an estimate.
Correct.
So, but you said that it was revised since the number that George, don't we have to file another one of these when that happens?
Yes, they give us a new one every time.
Okay.
They send me a new one every time.
Okay.
Yes.
So then going back to what I had said earlier, when you look at the PLF in 2021, it'll give you probably a better sense of what the numbers will be. And the PLF in the past has had either a 3% to 5% differential, which you know, it's not predictable. But certainly Delaware has had a good year from the standpoint of real estate taxes and things like that, because it's a very growing county. So I think we should be okay. And Angela, am I correct that we also have a surplus of funds that will, if there's a rough patch, that we'll be able to manage?
Yes, we have the money that we set aside to retire the notes, and I just used the general fund money. It's all general fund money. I just used it out of the checking account and brought the checking account more in line to a reasonable amount, and not having so much in the checking account. We just,
right.
So we do have some reserves.
Mm-hmm.
We have reserves. So
yeah, well, these have been some very good questions, and I think that when we get into 2021, I think we should start taking a hard look at, once you get some structure or some relevant information on what the PLF might be, so that we have enough time if it's required that we need to make some adjustments in some of the things that we're doing, that it just doesn't sneak up on us, and that we're proactive in managing our resources based on the uncertainty of PLF in 2021.
And the biannual budget, is next year, right? You're right. Okay.
If I might just throw in here too, one of the things that we get for our institutional dues in the Ohio Library Council is that they hire an economist to take a look at this each year and give us an estimate of where they think the public library fund is going to be. And that'll be shared with the trustees in the trustee newsletter that comes out from OLC. And Angela, I can also pass that along as we see it. So because this has been such a topsy-turvy year, they've got the economists working overtime trying to figure out where we might be for the calendar year 2021, and then what will happen when we go back during the buildup of the biennial budget, which will happen in starting probably right after the first of the year. I'll talk a little bit more about that during my report.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's fine, Sita. I mean,
well, we do know that this is the PLF is going to be a financial priority for the board in 2021. So the sooner we can get the information and share it with the rest of the board of trustee members, I think will be okay, because it'll give us an opportunity to evaluate it, look at it, have discussions, and develop next steps.
I received a notification that the county is reevaluating property values for tax purposes. Is any of that factored into these estimates, or is that yet to come out?
I would say it's yet to come out because that's what
Okay.
they're evaluating the property. And whenever they start evaluating the property, 9 out of 10 times your property taxes will go up. The question
Yeah.
is what proportional amount will they go up? Will it be 1%? Will it be 2%? Will it be 3%? And that's what we need to understand, the variances in these various economic situations that's not only going through Delaware, but through the whole state of Ohio.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember when they said that would take effect.
Yeah, I
Well,
don't think
Brenda,
they
I know
do.
what you're talking about. I got that notice as well. And I think this is the 3-year point. Every 6 years is what I tend to think of an actual jump in real estate tax bills to people. As George Keitza noted in that email, this evaluation at the 3-year point doesn't necessarily mean there will be an increase to your tax bill.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
I'm a little rusty, so I'm glad I was correct.
Any other discussion? Okay, so Angela, can you do a roll call vote, please?
Of course. Mr. Allen,
Okay,
Ms. Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Butler,
Yes.
Ms. Eldridge,
Yes.
Mr. Teedy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Motion carries. Mr. Needham?
Well, I've got a couple of things. Michael talked about the 2 bills that we're talking about at the OLC trustee workshops. The House Bill 13 was introduced by Representative Rick Carfagna, who represents Delaware County, mostly west of Interstate 71. Somebody I really love talking to. He's a really interesting person. Broadband is his passion, getting broadband to the whole state. And he introduced this bill early in the session. It came under the attention of the governor, and they're pushing hard on this to get it passed. What it would do is help get broadband service into all parts of the state, rural areas, inner city areas, so that, and of course, with the schools being so dependent upon online learning now, and with so many people working from home, this bill has become even more important. So it seems to be moving forward. That was one of the things that he spoke about during the Central Trustees dinner, and then also was spoken about during the one that Sina was at, the Northwest group. And so we're looking really positive on that one. But if you get a chance to talk to Chris Jordan or Andy Brenner, this is something that's really high up on our list of things that the Ohio Library Council is pushing hard for. And I don't think that there's any real organized opposition. We're not talking about a lot of money in this bill or anything like that, but the idea is to just kind of help push it forward. The other bill that Michael mentioned is the COVID immunity bill, which was House Bill 606. That was passed this week and signed by the governor yesterday. And what that does is provide immunity to businesses and government agencies, including libraries, so that if we take the reasonable steps we have taken to help prevent transmission of COVID, we are immune from lawsuits if somebody claims that they got sick from the library. So now, if we did anything stupid, if we did anything negligent or intentional, we would still be open to a lawsuit. But the way it's set up right now is that by taking the reasonable precautions that we've taken, following the General Health District's advice, we are protecting ourselves from lawsuits. So that was that was one that the Ohio Library Council was very strong on as well. So as I said, that was passed by the governor. It is retroactive to March 2nd and goes through next year. And so although the law itself doesn't actually take effect for 90 days. So as is true for most bills. The Public Library Fund is set in law as being 1.66% of the general revenue collection each year by the state of Ohio. That has to be renewed. Actually, what happens is the percentage gets set every year. And so each year, one of the things that the Ohio Library Council and the members go and lobby members of the House and Senate is to make sure that that number doesn't get set any less than 1.66, and if possible, get set a little higher. It bounced around quite a bit last year during the budget negotiations, and ended up being set at 1.7%. Am I right about that, Angela? It was 1.7? Yeah. So it was actually a little higher, marginally higher than is set in law. But we know that next year is going to be a really tough budget year. So we may be asking people to write more letters, call their legislative offices, and support the library's chair on that. So that's coming through. That'll probably start right after the first of the year when the governor puts his proposed budget forward, and we'll see what he proposes, and then it'll go to the House for first action. I don't have anything else other than what was in my general report. Molly, am I forgetting anything? Okay, she's shaking her head no, so I guess I'm okay on that one.
Can't think of anything right now.
Okay, we will talk a little bit later about where we are with the new building and with some recommendations from the HR committee. I also want to tell you, I just got another text message from Holly. She emailed me earlier that she was at her doctor, and her doctor was running very late and that she needed to get this appointment in, so she couldn't leave. And so she just a couple of minutes ago texted me that she's still there. So I don't think we're going to be seeing her for this meeting. So anyway, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to entertain them.
Regarding,
His report.
Oh, just my report, yeah. Not Holly. I don't know what's up with Holly.
I thought I was jumping ahead to construction and other stuff.
That's okay, no problem. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Okay. We've all received Karen's report. Karen, do you have anything to add to the Friends report?
Yes, I do, as a matter of fact. First of all, thanks Molly and Julie for reminding me to get it in so that it could be on the agenda. We just talked to the food truck people, and this is news to George. Yeah, we are looking at October 16th for dinner and a movie at Orange. So that means that we will be selling DVDs, and we will have 3 food trucks there. So you come and get your dinner to go, buy some DVDs, and go home and watch a movie and have dinner. So there will be more information about that as soon as we get it all put together.
What was the date again?
October 16th. And it'll start at 6 at Orange, and we'll do all the social distancing and all of that kind of stuff. We will make sure that we are in compliance with everything. And when we had this set up before, we had a popcorn truck that has over 50 kinds of popcorn. And that one will be the one that's there because they're organizing it for us. And then we had a taco truck, and I forget what the third one, a barbecue. So the popcorn people are ahead of this food truck association. So they're inviting some people. So as soon as we know what the other 2 are, I will let you know, but I figure 50 kinds of popcorn with a movie. I mean, seriously, what else do you need? So we're
That's a Friday night too, and it'll be after the library closes. Yeah. So that's it's a nice setup.
Yeah, and we were going to do it this Friday or October 2nd until we remembered that First Friday was happening in Delaware, and we didn't want to conflict with them. We're doing 16, and so that's the extent, Mr. Butler, of my report.
Oh, well, thank you. Is there any questions for Karen by any of the trustees? Hearing none. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The next one is our committee report, and this is the Liberty Township Building Committee, of which Brenda and myself and George made the last meeting. And we had a really good conversation with the architect, and they went over some of the refinements of the building and some of the minor changes. And then we also had a meeting with the commissioners that approved the building layout, et cetera. So far, everything's a go. George, please correct me if I'm wrong, but we're still waiting for the closing company to give us the title so that we can break ground. but we've talked about casually just going ahead and breaking ground before it gets too cold, et cetera, so that the community will actually know that we're actually doing something. Mr. Needham, what have I missed or what have I messed up?
Well, I have contacted the person at the title company. I've asked John Wicks to get on their case too, because she hasn't been returning my calls. The next step is for me to go park at the title company and ask to see her, I think. Anyway, the other thing that we need to do at this meeting is to approve in principle the schematic design budget estimate and the timeline that was in your pack. This came to us on September 2nd from Marker, and Todd Reiser from Marker and Jeffrey Sackenheim from SHP are on the call here. I think Jeffrey has a few things, or Todd might have a few things that they want to say. So I'll let them, with your indulgence, just say what we need to say. The reason we're doing this is because we want the board to be aware of everything as we move forward. And I'll let Jeffrey and Todd talk about the proposal, but let me just say it's not significantly different overall from what you've already seen. So I'll turn it over to Jeffrey and Todd here to say a few words.
Todd, you want to go first? You want me to?
Go ahead, Jeffrey, if you want to just kind of give an overview of where we are, I guess.
Sure. I recognize most of the faces on the screen, but I'm Jeffrey Sackenheim. I'm an architect and principal in charge of the project for SHP. So happy to see you this evening. And I was also just relieved to hear that it was a ceremonial groundbreaking in 30 to 45 days and not the actual official. Todd probably, we didn't see his reaction when he had his camera off, but yeah, so we've completed the first of 3 design and technical documentation phases. So schematic design is first. That was sent to Marker a few weeks ago. Todd's team on the pre-construction end put together an updated opinion of the cost of the project and big picture. We are under budget by about $100,000 from where we were at the last estimate. I'll put an asterisk on that because we also had a call just a little bit earlier today with the developer to go over some site questions that Todd's team and our team had. And I think there was a little bit of a scope gap in understanding who was doing what. There were a few items that we thought the developer was taking care of as part of the turnover of the site. It's not a huge amount of work, but there will be a little bit of stuff coming into the project that we did not previously have covered. So we're at a milestone at the completion of the schematic design phase where we generally know what the building looks like, how it's organized, how we're going to build it. And it's at a point where we can then pause for a few weeks like we just did and do an estimate and do a constructability review. So I believe George sent to everyone a packet of a lot of the material that's been produced to date, which also included a package that we recently submitted to the city of Powell for a planning and zoning meeting, which George, Todd, and I attended last week. And the package was unanimously approved by their planning and zoning committee 5-0, I believe. So that's another major early milestone to get that approval. So I have all that material on my computer. I'm happy to share any visuals or the budget or any of that detail with you if people have specific questions. Otherwise, I'll shut up for a minute and let Todd talk.
Yeah, no, and so I think that's a really good kind of just, again, overview of where we are. You know, in looking at some of the things that came out of the meeting today, I'm going to say that we're probably going to be very close to where we were for the original conceptual estimate. Some of those costs that Jeffrey referenced will be shared by the developer, but we'll have to construct those for our site, you know, initially to get the project going. So overall, I think we're tracking right on budget. It's been a good relationship with SHP and Marker, I believe. Working with Jeffrey's team, we'll do continual budget checks as they work through the design progress. So we'll do interim checks between what is now the schematic design to the next design development phase of the deliverables. So Great project. We're really excited and glad to be a part of it. So I'd be willing to, or I'd like to answer any questions anybody has on any of the specific costs or scope items.
Well, not hearing any questions, you
Well,
gentlemen.
I'll go. I have a couple.
Okay, go ahead.
If I ask anything that's already been dealt with in past board meetings, then just please move us on and we'll take it offline and get me up to speed. I don't have a lot of questions, but for example, I noticed in Division 02 existing conditions, the very first item says undercutting of unsuitable soils is excluded. Have there been soil borings done already?
Yes, there have, and we don't anticipate any bad dirt on the site.
So this is really just a protection that Marker is putting in, that that's not their responsibility to have figured out.
It is. I mean, well, so we look at the soil borings and we know based on everything that we can see, you know, because there are select borings in select areas. So we don't know what everything is on the site. So that's kind of why that assumption, that clarification is in there. But right now we don't foresee any unsuitable soil on our site.
Okay. Type of contract in general that we either have or are headed towards. Is it a fixed price contract? Is it an open book? Who's at risk if we go over budget and even eat up the contingency, et cetera?
Yep, good question. So this is a construction manager at risk contract. So right now we have a pre-construction agreement with the library, and then it'll proceed to a GMP, guaranteed maximum price.
Okay.
And so that'll be open book. You'll see everything that we, you know, we'll bid the job out. You know, there's a whole specific process that we'll go through to bid the job. It'll be competitively bid, and you'll see all the bids as they come in. So we're at risk. We'll have a construction manager contingency that'll be for our use to mitigate some of that risk. And then I think in this contract, the unused contingency goes back to the owner 100%. So yeah, it's a guaranteed maximum price, open book, and with the CM contingency.
Okay, guaranteed maximum price was a nice buzzword to hear. And then I guess this is a general question. I think this is my last question. General question for the board, and based on, I don't know how many of you would have been here for, say, the Orange Township Library, but if we looked back at that contract and the results, seen the types of change orders that maybe we ended up incurring, and made sure that we've at least not set ourselves up to repeat that type of thing, because change orders can be very expensive.
Well, I was around for the building of the Orange branch, and we were not as informed as we are today. And working with both the builder and the architect, you know, we deferred to them almost on everything. And so when the change orders came and the pricing was a little bit more than we thought, as well as some of the design flaws in the building, we were too late into the process to make any corrections. In this particular aspect of the Powell Library, it's been very open, it's been very inclusive, and we've formed a committee, and I believe that the committee has addressed addressed and asked the right questions. And our architect and our construction individuals have been very open with us. They've made some suggested changes, and we've cut a few dollars back. And I'm really pleased with this process compared to Orange, and I feel like I'm more informed to ask the proper questions going forward.
Okay. And in these costs, I guess I had another question. In light of the fact that the Orange Library has had so many roof leak issues, one that's of course design related in my humble opinion.
Yes.
And this is a much more conservatively designed building, so I would not anticipate that. But I didn't see anything in these cost estimates, anything regarding the roof, or am I missing something? Materials, what type of roof?
Yeah, so we have a combination. It's in there, it's in Division 7. So we have a standing seam metal panel roof for the majority of the building, for the gable roof portions. And then in the flat roof area, we have a membrane roof system. So I think it's going to be a great project. I mean, I think the way that the roof is designed and the materials that SHP has specified is you're going to get a really good product at the end of the day.
What % of the roof is flat?
No, none of the roof is flat.
Well, sloped.
I know people hear
Your
that.
your membrane related portion.
Off the cuff, probably 15%,
Okay.
20% of the total roof area is a low slope membrane.
Okay.
Not very much at all.
Hey, any reason we're not putting in a dumpster pad?
Oh, that's, we're sharing it with the rest of the commercial part that John Wicks is developing. That was one of the, we had to actually move it slightly, and that was one of the things that came up during the Powell hearing. And all we're doing basically is changing the orientation so that we can get our drive-through around it. But we are sharing their dumpster area. Any other questions for Jeffrey or Todd?
Yeah, I have a question. Yeah. How is it built in if prices increase? I mean, prices for lumber have just gone skyrocketed from the time we're building a condo. From the time we started till now, they've just gone crazy, and materials are being very difficult to get. So how are there things built in so that if these prices increase, when you go to order stuff, that we're not going to go over budget at the end?
That's also a really good question. I know we talked about that through the interview process. So right now we're carrying a design contingency in the estimate. It's more for design changes that occur as the design progresses. So, we're not carrying a escalation factor right now. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of wood on the project.
Yeah.
We've seen the same thing. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword in that, we're hopeful that the market conditions will be favorable for us when we go to bid the job. And so the goal is to bid it, here before the end of the year, so we can, hopefully not see any significant price increases. Right now, that's a really good question. Probably something that the group should consider is that we don't have that escalation factor built in there right now. We're not seeing, other than lumber, we're not seeing huge price swings, and we are seeing a more competitive bid environment.
Okay.
I would echo that. So the stuff that we've publicly bid since the pandemic started, which in total is probably $80 million worth of work across 15 or 16 projects across the board. Every project has bid under the estimate, and on average, it's been about 13% under the estimate. And I would echo the competition standpoint. Those were all, except for one, were single prime contracts, so a little bit different contractual relationship than what the library has with Todd's group. Normally we'd see 3, 4, 5 contractors show up. We've seen 8 to 10 on each one of those projects. So I do think that right now, at least on the commercial side, it's a little bit more competitive than maybe it was this time last year or the first part of this year.
So what risks do you see or know about in these numbers that we should be aware of?
I think that the numbers are accurate for where we are today. I think that the unknowns for potential supply chain or materials acquisition, procurement, that's probably the biggest risk to this job. Everything that's being incorporated into our cost, into the design, are pretty typical items for commercial construction. So, I think that that unknown is probably the biggest risk to the budget.
At this point, we are carrying at this stage a little bit over $400,000 in a design contingency. So I think that Todd's team and our team and we have in-house construction estimating as well. I think we've put together a pretty credible estimate, again, based upon what we know today and the design and where we expect the design to finish out. So I feel like we're in a pretty good spot based upon what we know today in the intended completion of the project over the next several months.
Right. And I think, we're bidding stuff every day in the market. And so we're not, again, for this type of construction and the products that are specified, we're not seeing huge swings. And again, to the point we stated earlier, it's a pretty competitive environment right now. So.
Is this a typical contingency amount? I don't know why I'm thinking 10% is typical contingency.
So there would typically be two different contingencies in a project. Well, actually three at this stage of the project. So you have the reference to the one, which is the design contingency, which shows up on page 14 of the estimate, that $412,000. Again, that's to allow our two teams to finish the design and technical documentation of the project. So when we confirm what the gas service routing, as an example, is going to be, we have a plug number in there right now that can get counted at the next stage or the final stage once we know exactly what that path is going to be. So the design contingency ultimately gets allocated as we get further and further along in the design and documentation process. Todd mentioned that he has a construction manager contingency. That is spelled out in his agreement, what percentage of the cost of the work that equates to. And then in the total project cost worksheet, which we've shared before, we're actually off the books carrying a completely standalone owner contingency.
Okay.
So if certain things come up during construction, if Todd puts the first shovel in the ground and finds a fuel tank that was buried 40 years ago that nobody knew was still there, the library has money to pull that tank out and remediate the soil in that vicinity, or buy more furniture, or buy a more sophisticated building control system that we might have an alternate in the project for. So we do technically have three contingencies in play right now on the project on the books.
What percent is the owner contingency? Do you remember?
I can tell you if you give me 1 second. It was either 5 or 7%, which is pretty typical for new construction.
Okay.
We would recommend a 10% if we're doing a complicated renovation job. New construction is usually 5 on the low end.
Okay.
Bear with me. Yeah, we're carrying a 5% owner contingency.
So are there any other questions? Thank you very much for your time and effort, and I feel very comfortable with the process. And as I said earlier, you have kept us informed all along the way, especially with changes, etc. And by putting this small committee together, I do believe we're asking all of the right questions. And we will absolutely keep the board informed as we get closer and closer to groundbreaking and first building construction and things of that nature. So thank you once again for your assistance in this matter.
Okay, so we've got the resolution on the table that needs to be voted on to accept the schematic design budget estimate.
Need a motion? Need a.
It's been moved. It just needs to be voted on.
Oh, it needs to be voted on?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor?
Wait a minute.
Who
No.
made the motion? Who made the motion?
No, it hasn't been moved.
It
I
has,
thought you made. Oh, I'm sorry. I
Nope.
thought that was. I'm
Can I ask
sorry.
We need a motion for someone to approve it.
So
Can I ask
moved.
a question first? A very quick one.
Yes?
Of you three that are on the construction committee, were all three of you in agreement to move this forward?
Yes.
Since Holly's not here?
Yes, we were.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, we've been pretty much in agreement during this whole process because they have really provided information for some of the novices to have clarity in the process, and they take the time to make sure that we're comfortable with the decisions that they're giving us and that we're approving. So yes, I'm extremely comfortable.
Okay, I'm a newbie, so I didn't have that background.
I understand.
They're good questions.
Yeah, they are very good questions. We need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you so much. And Brad, those were excellent questions. So we're going to be tapping your resources going forward.
Okay.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you, Jeffrey. And
Yeah,
we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks,
Gentlemen.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now we have a couple things for the HR committee. Two of the issues have been on the board since last, George? The two positions have been on for what, since?
We talked about them when we put the budget together last year. We didn't act on them. We were going to act on them, but then with COVID, it got set aside. So you actually gave kind of unofficial approval to the finance specialist and the HR manager at the last meeting. But whenever we add new positions, the board has to go on record officially approving the job description. So
correct.
We did the job description for the fiscal specialist was in last month's package. Holly and Sina and Brenda got together and reviewed the finance position, the HR manager position, and we made some changes based on some suggestions that Holly's own HR committee made, and so the committee then approved those two positions, position descriptions, and are presenting them to you for approval tonight.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the two positions as fiscal specialist and HR position. I need a motion.
So move.
I need a second.
Second.
Now, are there any discussions regarding these two positions only, which is attachment 8 and attachment 9?
No.
Okay, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those two positions are approved.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And the other two were changes to specific policies, which the board has approved in the past. The only change in the drug and alcohol policy is to add medical marijuana as a substance that can't be used, sold, or be under the influence of while one is actually at work. And then with the sick leave policy, we've always allowed people to take some time off for bereavement, but what we're trying to do with that policy is just be more specific in what relationships qualify for bereavement leave and how much you can take of your sick leave for bereavement time. So those were the changes that came out in attachments 10 and 11.
George, didn't we have outstanding questions for those two policies?
You had an outstanding question about the drug and alcohol policy, whether we could actually ask people, not in the section that I'm asking to change, but in the section where the later paragraph that says that if somebody's under using a medicine that can affect somebody's judgment, ability to operate machinery, that they had to tell us 30 minutes before they showed up for work. I have sent that question to Eric Penkel, our attorney at the county prosecutor's office. I haven't gotten a response from him on that. So when we do, then if we have to change that, we will bring that back to the board. We didn't have any questions on the sick leave. You did have a question on the third policy that I put forward on the holidays for part-time staff.
Okay, that's the one.
And that one, we are doing more research on it. We'll bring it back to you. I may actually wait till we have the HR manager to get his or her opinion on that before we bring it to the HR committee again.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So George, I have one question. Should we, since there are some legality issues regarding the drug and alcohol policy, should we defer that until you hear back from the city attorney?
Michael, it's not, the question isn't on the change. The question is a part of the policy that is already in place.
Got you. Okay.
So we can go ahead with the change, and then my question was on a later part that was already in place.
Okay. Are there any other questions from any of the other board members regarding the drug and alcohol policy or the sick leave policy?
I have a couple on the sick leave. And this again is maybe just getting me up to speed, but how does the amount of hours of paid sick leave compare to both other library systems and other governmental type systems? Because I'm suspecting it's not necessarily going to compare to the private sector. And then, well, we can answer that one first.
Yeah, the research that we've done about this is that this is pretty consistent among libraries. As far as the 120 hours of paid sick leave per year for full-time and 60 hours of paid sick leave for part-time people. Some places are a little more conservative in how many hours somebody can accumulate and keep, but for the most part, we don't pay people for their sick leave when they leave. If you've been here more than 10 years and you retire, you get I think a quarter of your sick leave paid as a cash payment, but that's actually fairly rare that we actually have to pay that out. So I don't know how it compares to the private sector, but like I said, we have an internal committee, staff committee, that did some review of this, and it's comparable for what other libraries, and we did a few other government agencies as well, the City of Delaware, Preservation Parks, and a couple of other organizations who got their sick leave policies as well.
And George, isn't it also comparable to the mid-sized libraries that you're part of?
Yeah, we compare policies on things like that on a fairly regular basis, and this is comparable to what others offer. There are some libraries or some organizations that have gone to a straight paid days off kind of a procedure where you get X number of days per year that you can use for sick leave, vacation, bereavement, personal time, that sort of thing. But it would be very complicated to switch from what we have now to that.
And Brad, the Delaware County Library System is part of a mid-sized group that is between, I think it's about 60 libraries.
It's not quite that big, it's about 30 libraries.
Okay, about 30 libraries, and they have monthly meetings and they discuss the various policies and procedures and what's going on within the library community and the state of Ohio. And so they're pretty much aligned with a lot of the policies and procedures, and there are variances in them, but Delaware is definitely centered with what the other 30 libraries are doing, and we're not out of reach and we're not below the reach. We're probably somewhere in the mid-range.
Right.
Okay, so similar on the bereavement. I was actually sort of surprised when I saw that there is a 5-day bereavement when I'm used to in the private sector 3 days. So what's the story behind that?
Again, I believe that came from the research that we did of the other institutions that we're dealing with. This time would come out of the person's sick leave anyway, so it's I don't think it's it's no additional financial burden on the library, but this does allow somebody to get back to where they need to be, participate in the funeral, and have some time afterwards. So that's again based on what our committee came up with, looking at the other institutions in the area and other libraries. This seemed to be pretty much right down the middle.
Okay. I've been saying for quite a while I should have chosen to work in the public sector because the benefits, the pension, military, for example, gets half their salary when they retire. Poor decision on my part to have worked in the private sector.
Well, it could also be a practical decision. I mean, it doesn't have to be a poor decision. Are there any other questions from any of the other trustees? Okay, I'm going to do these two together if there's no objections. So I need a motion to approve the revised drug and alcohol policy and the revised sick leave policy.
So moved.
Okay,
Second.
Okay. Angela, did you get who approved it in a second?
You're muted, Angela.
Alan and Eldridge. I got people mowing my grass at my house, so
No, I didn't move anything.
I thought it was Scott who moved it, actually,
I
Angela.
moved.
Yeah.
Okay,
thank
I see. All right, good. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Now some unfinished business. Do we have any unfinished business? I can't think of any. Are there any questions that any of the board members want to bring up at this point in time? Okay, hearing none. Nicole, is there any public participation?
There was one question about the library's kind of fiscal analysis, and that was answered by the discussion that took place then.
Okay, good.
And I do have a couple comments, if I may, Michael, if that
Yes,
would be okay.
Yes.
Okay. Recently, I wanted to bring up, in case you didn't see it or in case it had just missed George's report, the Ohio Treasurer, Robert Sprague, has recognized the Maker Annex at the Delaware County District Library. Molly has the commendation that was sent, the recognition that was sent. And if you don't mind, I can read it so you can hear what it says. It is with great pleasure that I recognize the Delaware County District Library's Maker Annex for its dedication to community service during the COVID-19 pandemic. Delaware County District Library's Maker Annex's commitment to utilizing 3D printing in the production of personal protective equipment for area healthcare workers should be honored. This innovative and visionary leadership has directly played a role in keeping members of the community safe and healthy during a truly unprecedented time. Compassionate and dedicated service like this exemplifies the qualities of an outstanding organization committed to the community. Deep admiration and respect should be given to those who serve their neighbors. Therefore, I commend the Delaware County District Library's Maker Annex on its numerous contributions to the area and the state of Ohio. I wish them many years of continued success and civic involvement.
That's outstanding.
So that's led by Tracy Higgins, Kellen Freeman, and Tom Geisler are all part of the Maker Annex team at Delaware Library.
Well, can you let them know, as well as the remainder of the staff, that the board is really appreciative of the work that they've done, and that we stand behind them and the makerspace 100%.
Yes.
And I know that you'll use more eloquent words, but I want you to make sure that they know that the board is very appreciative of what they've done.
Yes, I will let them know.
Thank you.
Also, today is 7 weeks. We have an election coming up, and it's in 7 weeks. And today we celebrated at the library, and we still will for the next about 50 minutes or so, our voter services that we provide as a library. We are allowed to collect voter registration forms, absentee ballot request forms, and provide information, of course, as a nonpartisan entity within the state of Ohio. And so today we have been asking patrons if they need any of those services, and we will collect them and then deliver everything specifically to the Board of Delaware, or the Delaware County Board of Elections. And we'll do that today. We'll do that next Tuesday, which is officially the National Voter Registration Day. And then we'll do that October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, all the way up until voter registrations can be received. So that is a service that we are statutorily allowed to provide within the state of Ohio. And we like to make sure that everybody knows about that.
Well, thank you for being civic responsibility.
Yes. And then my last point, because I think your next meeting will take place after this, is we are doing a Great Geek Fest this year. It is a Great Geek Week, and it is virtual. It will take place October 11th through the 17th, and it will be filled with all of the geeky things that you've come to love. This would have been our 5th year for our Great Geek Fest, and we had a lot of fun plans to celebrate our big 5-year milestone. Those will be put off until next year, but we still have some great things planned, including some virtual Dungeons and Dragons games, We're looking at cosplay, and we will also have some author visits. So Vera Broskell is an author illustrator who actually has even some youth books that have been recognized by the American Library Association Youth Media Awards. And then she will be doing a presentation, and then Dan Santat and Min Lay will be also doing a presentation together. They've co-written a lot of award-winning books as well. Drawn Together was one, and the other one that just came out is called Lift. So we will have presentations from both of them.
Oh, so thank you, thank you. Sounds like it's gonna be a pretty full fall.
It will be.
That's not, admittedly, that's not what I thought about when I thought about a geek fest. I thought maybe
challenging stereotypes, right? It's pretty cool.
I thought perhaps you would want a demonstration on how to use a slide rule or something.
We love all geekdoms at the library.
That's for Nerd Fest.
That is geeky.
Can I just point, hey, Karen, do you want to mention the Fiona Davis program too?
Yes. If you go to our website, www.delawarelibraryfriends.org, or go to Eventbrite, we are having Fiona Davis, who is a New York Times bestselling author. She's going to be virtual. It's going to be on October 7th. And you can sign up on Eventbrite, or you can sign up on our Facebook page, or don't go to our website. I think it's our Facebook page at Eventbrite. She's going to be on the radio show October 2nd. Am I correct on that?
Yep.
Yeah, so she's going to be, and if you haven't read her books, she bases them all in New York City, bases them all around one of the buildings in New York City. I think I've read all of them, and she's a really, really good author, and I understand that she does really good presentations. So I invite you all to participate. If you're a member of the Friends, it's only $5, and if you're not, it's $10. But if you're not and you want to become one, you just let me know, and we will make that all happen. So October 7th, Fiona Davis, and please join us.
I'm reading her new book right now. It is really good. The Lions of Fifth
The Midnight.
Avenue. It's about the New York Public Library, so of course I like it.
And live there, right?
I know, yeah. Well, I'd love to live there, yeah, but
No, don't some of her characters live there?
oh yeah. The story that's set in 1913, the family lives in the superintendent's apartment within the New York Public Library.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
Any other public or otherwise participation?
Michael, I just wanted to add that I left this out of my report. I'm sorry. George and I have met, and we've rolled up all the budgets, and we've got a preliminary budget we'd like to present to the Finance Committee, and I'll send out a doodle poll for the next over the next couple of weeks to see a time where the Finance Committee can get together and decide on that and look over that and hear that. So, and that is Michael, Sina, and Brenda.
Thank you.
For Brad and Scott's benefit, the way this works is we work with the staff during August and September to put together the proposed budget. Between this meeting and the October meeting, we meet with the Finance Committee for their review of the budget. We'll present the tentative budget to you in October. We can ask questions, we can share information about that then. The board actually votes on the budget in November so that Angela can get all the paperwork done and close everything out in time for the end of December. So, and then in January, you'll have another vote on it where there's the actual certificate. I believe there's one last step, isn't there, Angela, if I'm remembering that correctly?
In December, we will do the annual appropriation
That's
resolution.
the December, that's right. Thank you. Sorry. And just to let you know, I will be on vacation next week. Molly will be in charge while I'm gone. I'm losing vacation time hand over fist and don't want to anymore. So.
Well, wait a minute. Isn't that part of dedication?
Yeah, it's also part of stupidity if you don't take the vacation time you got coming.
Well, we hope you have a wonderful vacation.
I'm not going far, but I'm going to enjoy it.
All right, time off. Are there any other thoughts, provocative questions, intellectual queries? Okay, Well, I need a motion to approve the adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you so much for a very, very, very good meeting.
Thank you all. Appreciate it. Have a good day.
You too.
You're off Facebook. I think I did that right.
You're still recording though, so you can turn that off.